Some DC comic stories push the limits of what fans expect, diving into some pretty dark and disturbing themes. Now, one of the most shocking is Batman Damned, a comic that takes Batman into a terrifying nightmare where reality itself is unclear. Now, unlike usual superhero stories, this one feels more like a horror film filled with unsettling moments and some pretty disturbing twists. Right from the start, the story is creepy AF. Batman wakes up badly injured in an ambulance covered in blood, but he's got no memory of what actually happened. Suddenly, he attacks the paramedics, escapes, and falls off of a bridge. Now, somehow, he survives without a scratch, making readers wonder if he's even alive. Now, this sets the tone for a really disturbing mystery, one where Batman himself isn't sure what's even real. The scariest part of Batman Damned is its twisted version of Gotham. This city is full of supernatural horrors, and Batman's mind is crumbling. He meets John Constantine, a magician who seems to know more than he's saying. Deadman, a ghostly figure, also appears, making it feel like Batman is trapped between life and death. The biggest mystery? The Joker's dead, and Batman doesn't know if he's the one who killed him. Well, as the story unfolds, Batman's past is rewritten in some pretty disturbing ways. Was his father a good man, or was he hiding dark secrets? Did Bruce Wayne become Batman because of a bat, or something way worse? The story really forces readers to question everything they thought they knew about the Dark Knight. Now, what makes this particular story so unsettling is that there's no clear answer to anything. It really feels like a nightmare that Batman can't wake up from. Every page drags him deeper into madness, leaving readers just as lost as he is. In the end, the scariest part isn't even the supernatural, it's the idea that Batman may have been doomed from the start. The Flashpoint paradox throws you into a world that's completely broken. Barry Allen, aka The Flash, wakes up in an alternate reality where everything has gone horribly wrong. His mom's alive, but his powers are gone. Superman's missing, Batman's a brutal killer, and Wonder Woman and Aquaman are leading their people into a world-ending war. Yay! It's a day that ends in Y. As Barry tries to fix the timeline, he realizes that he may have really screwed the pooch this time. Now, what makes this so disturbing is how violent and hopeless this world is. Batman isn't Bruce Wayne, he's his father, Thomas Wayne, who became a ruthless killer after losing his son. He shoots criminals without hesitation and even murders Reverse Flash with a gunshot to the head. The whole war between Wonder Woman and Aquaman is even worse. Wonder Woman executes Aquaman's wife, Mira, by cutting off her head. Then, in revenge, Aquaman unleashes a weapon that destroys the entire planet. That escalated. Heroes die left and right in the most brutal ways possible. Cyborg is torn apart, Shazam's killed by Wonder Woman, and Superman, after years of torture, barely understands what's happening around him. Now, the worst part is Barry himself. After everything, he realizes he's the one who caused this nightmare by saving his mom. So, to fix things, he's got to let her die again. The story actually ends with Batman breaking down in tears after reading a letter from his dead son, proving that even in victory, the pain never really goes away. In a world where Batman is hunting down Jack the Ripper, things get really dark. Gotham by Gaslight is set in the 19th century, a time when Gotham was even more dangerous than usual. That says a lot. Bruce Wayne has just returned home after studying in Europe, and he soon takes on the role of Batman to stop crime in the city. But just as he begins his mission, a terrifying killer starts butchering women in the streets. People begin to wonder, could the Batman himself be the murderer? Well, as Bruce fights to clear his name, the truth behind the killings is far worse than anybody imagined. What makes this even more stressful isn't just the murders, but how horrifyingly realistic they are. The killer, who turns out to be Jacob Packer, has been on a brutal rampage, slicing women apart in the dark alleyways of Gotham. Now, this story doesn't hold back on the violence, showing blood-soaked scenes that are far gorier than most DC animated flicks. But what really makes it chilling is Packer's reason for killing. He was rejected by Bruce's mother, Martha Wayne, and that rejection broke him. In his mind, all women were like her, mocking him, laughing at him, so he took his revenge by, slaughtering all of them. By the time Batman finally stops him, the damage is already done. Packer even confesses that he was the one who had Bruce's parents killed, making his crimes even more personal. This entire tale drips with atmosphere, from the foggy streets to the gruesome murders, making Gotham by Gaslight one of the most disturbing DC stories ever told. John Constantine has seen a lot of dark things, but City of Demons takes him to an even worse place. His old friend Chaz comes to him for help because his young daughter's in a coma, but it's not a normal sickness. A powerful demon has stolen her soul, and the only way to save her is for Constantine to dive headfirst into the supernatural underworld of LA, which is just regular LA, but a little hotter than usual. Along the way, he faces deadly creatures, dangerous magic, and the terrible truth about how far evil can actually go. It's kind of like reverse Moana. One of the disturbing moments comes when Constantine discovers a demon named Brule who isn't just stealing souls, he's turning humans into living meat farms. Neat. Victims are trapped in endless suffering, their bodies being used over and over while their minds are broken. Now, this story doesn't hold back on the horror, showing grotesque images of people being slowly consumed, screaming for help. It's nightmare fuel that makes you feel sick just looking at it. But the scariest part about this whole thing isn't even the gore, it's the choices that Constantine has to make. To save the girl, he's forced to do things that go against every one of his moral fibers. This guy doesn't just fight demons, he plays their game, tricking them, sacrificing others, and making deals that come with some terrible costs. Then by the end of it, you're left wondering if Constantine is really a hero or just another monster. But that's what makes City of Demons one of the most disturbing DC stories ever told. Suicide Squad, Hell to Pay throws a bunch of dangerous criminals together on a mission that's bound to get bloody. Amanda Waller sends the team, including Deadshot, Harley Quinn, and Captain Boomerang, to find a mystical Get Out of Hell free card. The problem? They're not the only ones looking for it. The mission quickly turns into a violent mess filled with betrayal, ambushes, and backstabbing as villains fight to control the powerful card. In the end, not a lot of people make it out alive. Now, one of the most unsettling parts is how brutally the characters are killed off, often by their own teammates. One by one, members of Task Force X meet gruesome fates, whether from exploding bombs in their heads or being cut down in cold blood. The villains turn on each other without hesitation, showing that nobody can be trusted. And the worst part, even those who seem like they might survive end up dead in shocking ways. Now, this story doesn't hold back on blood, violence, and graphic death, making it one of the darkest DC stories told. Watching these guys tear each other apart all for a card that only works once is kind of disturbing and unsettling. Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker takes Gotham's future and throws in a terrifying mystery. How the hell is Joker back when he was supposed to be dead? Terry McGinnis, the new Batman, has to figure out the truths while the Clown Prince of Crime terrorized the city once again. Bruce Wayne, now old and retired, refuses to explain what happened to the Joker all those years ago. As Terry digs deeper, he learns about a horrifying secret involving Robin, Joker's twisted experiment, and about a fate worse than death. Now, the most disturbing part of all of this is the way the Joker completely breaks Robin and Tim Drake. After kidnapping him, the Joker tortures the boy for weeks, twisting his mind and turning him into a smaller version of himself. The sight of a laughing, brainwashed Robin, his face pale, his lips stretched into Joker's signature grin, is enough to send chills down anybody's spine. Even worse yet, the trauma is so deep that Tim loses all memory of what happened, only to have the Joker's personality take over his body years later. The story doesn't just bring back an old villain, it shows just how much damage he left behind. Watching a once innocent hero be turned into a weapon of madness makes this one of the darkest DC stories ever told. Justice League Dark throws viewers into a world filled with dark magic, demons, and terrifying supernatural forces. This story follows Batman as he joins John Constantine, Zatanna, and other mystical heroes to battle an evil that's making innocent people commit horrific acts. Unlike the usual Justice League stories, this one dives into horror with some pretty gruesome visuals and a haunting atmosphere. The story wastes no time showing how terrifying this threat is. Innocent people suddenly see monsters that aren't there and begin attacking their own families, convinced that they're demons. Some of these scenes are pretty brutal and unsettling, making it clear that this isn't a typical superhero adventure. As the heroes investigate, they discover that an ancient sorcerer is behind the madness, using dark magic to control and destroy people's minds. Now, the scariest part is how powerless even Batman seems against this kind of enemy. This isn't a villain you can punch into submission. This is a force that twists reality itself. The eerie visuals, the unsettling deaths, and disturbing mind control makes this story pretty creepy. Injustice shows what happens when a hero crosses the line. In this alternate world, Superman's life is destroyed in the worst way possible. The Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane, his unborn child, and then detonates a nuclear bomb that wipes out Metropolis. Heartbroken and filled with rage, Superman does something unthinkable. He kills the Joker. But that's just the beginning. After that, Superman decides that he has to take control of the world to prevent more tragedies, no matter the cost. In the blink of an eye, Superman changes from a hero into a terrifying dictator. He starts making brutal decisions, forcing his rule on everybody and killing anybody who gets in his way. His former friends like Batman and the Flash try to stop him, but he doesn't listen. Watching the Justice League fall apart because of Superman's actions makes everything feel even darker. Now, one of the darkest moments is when Superman kills Green Arrow in cold blood just because he disagrees with them. It's honestly heartbreaking to see heroes who were once family now fighting to the death. Even Wonder Woman, usually his closest ally, starts questioning his choices. By the end of everything, the world is barely recognizable and Superman's nothing like the hero that people once loved. Death in the Family takes the audience on a brutal journey of loss, betrayal, and revenge. Jason Todd, the second Robin, has always been reckless, but his search for his real mother leads him straight into the Joker's trap. While trying to reunite with her, Jason discovers that his mom, Sheila, is working with the Joker. Instead of protecting her son, she hands him over. Now, what follows is one of the darkest moments in Batman's history. The Joker doesn't just defeat Robin, he beats him senseless with a crowbar, leaving him broken and bloody. But he doesn't stop there. He plants a bomb, trapping Jason and his mom inside a warehouse. As Batman rushes to save them, the explosion goes off, sealing their fate. Seeing a young hero so brutally killed while his mentor arrives too late is just devastating. Another unsettling moment is how Batman handles the loss. Instead of seeking comfort from his allies, he isolates himself, blaming himself for Jason's death. Even when Superman tries to intervene, Batman's rage and grief take over. Now, the Joker, on the other hand, faces no real consequences. He walks away with diplomatic immunity, laughing in Batman's face. The Killing Joke takes a deep dive into the Joker's twisted mind, showing his dark past and the horrifying things he does in the present. In the animated flick, Batman hunts down the Joker after he escapes Arkham Asylum. Meanwhile, the Joker sets out to prove that anybody can lose their sanity after just one bad day. His target? Commissioner Gordon. But things took a horrifying turn when Barbara Gordon, also known as Batgirl, gets caught in the middle. The real nightmare begins when the Joker shows up at Barbara's home and, without hesitation, shoots her in the spine. The bullet paralyzes her, but that's not enough for the Joker. He takes pictures of her in a humiliating state and uses them to torture her father, trying to drive him insane. This is one of the darkest moments in any Batman story. Beyond this, as Gordon is held captive in an abandoned amusement park, the Joker forces him through a nightmarish experience, stripping him naked and showing him pictures of his wounded daughter. He wants to break Gordon's mind, proving that life is nothing but a cruel joke. The disturbing part is how real everything feels, how one act of cruelty can destroy a person's entire life. Batman eventually stops the Joker, but in the end, the villain just laughs, leaving everybody with an uneasy feeling that nothing is really resolved. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is one of the darkest DC stories ever made. So this all takes place in a destroyed world where Darkseid, the most powerful villain in the universe, has taken over. The Justice League tries to stop him, but their plan fails horribly. Most of the heroes are slaughtered, and the few who survive are either brainwashed or just left broken. Superman, now powerless, teams up with the last remaining heroes to make one final attempt to save the world. What makes this so unsettling is how brutal and hopeless everything feels. Right from the start, heroes are ripped apart by terrifying paradooms, monsters that are part parademon, part doomsday. A lot of loved and cherished characters dies in ways that are horrifying to watch. Batman is turned into Darkseid's slave, Superman is injected with liquid kryptonite, and Wonder Woman becomes a mindless killing machine. There is zero mercy here, just pain, loss, and destruction. Now, one of the most shocking scenes is when Damian Wayne is killed right in front of Batman, making him snap out of his brainwashing. But the horror doesn't stop there. Raven, struggling to hold back her demonic father, Trigon, nearly loses control. Constantine, one of the last heroes left, learns that all of this chaos started because the Flash messed up time itself. In the end, the Earth is so damaged, the Flash is forced to create another time reset, even though it might cause another disaster. Batman Under the Red Hood is one of those DC flicks that stays with you long after the credits roll. The story begins with a brutal tragedy. Jason Todd, the second Robin, is kidnapped by the Joker, beaten with a crowbar, and left to die in an explosion while Batman arrives just a second too late. Now, years later, Gotham faces a new vigilante called the Red Hood, who takes over the city's crime world with his own set of violent rules. He kills criminals, keeps drug dealers in check, and even outsmarts Batman at times. But the shocking part? The Red Hood is none other than Jason Todd, who's back from the dead and seeking revenge. Now, the most stressful part in this movie is how it forces Batman to confront his greatest failure, Jason's death. The Joker, in his usual sadistic way, mocks Batman for letting Jason die and questions why he never killed him in return. The emotional weight in this one is pretty heavy, but it gets worse when Jason demands an answer. Why is the Joker still alive? The final confrontation is heartbreaking as Jason holds a gun, forcing Batman to choose. Kill the Joker or kill him. It's a dark, painful moment that shows just how broken Jason has become, making this one of DC's most haunting stories. Superman Doomsday starts with the most shocking event in Superman's history, his death. Now, this movie wastes no time throwing us into chaos as the monstrous Doomsday emerges from an underground chamber, destroying everything in its path. Superman is caught off guard and fights with everything he has, but the battle is brutal. He manages to stop Doomsday, but collapses in Lois Lane's arms, seemingly lifeless. Metropolis is left in mourning, struggling to accept a world without its greatest hero. What makes this movie unsettling is the dark and emotional toll of Superman's absence. The city crumbles in grief, and even those closest to him fall apart. Jimmy quits his job. Perry White turns to alcohol, and Lex Luthor, always scheming, takes advantage of the chaos. And just when hope seems lost, a new Superman appears, but something's off. This version is colder, more ruthless. When he kills Toyman by dropping him from the sky, it becomes clear that this isn't the hero people remember. The shocking transformation of Superman from savior to executioner is what makes this really disturbing. And that's a wrap for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.